Earlier this year, Dice Masters announced 4 new sets for Dice Masters due for release in 2021. This video is the 4th instalment of our preview and speculation series, and today we're going to be specifically talking about DC Dice Masters Kryptonite Crisis.
Wild assumption. And speculation. Now.
Yes, hello, welcome everybody. Chris here from the Ministry of Dice, and welcome to our final instalment of the 2021 Dice Masters new releases preview and speculation series. Just rolls off the tongue there, doesn't it? We're great at naming stuff. That's right. So we are, as I said in the intro there, we've been taking a look at the 4 new sets that Wizkids announced for 2021. We've already had a look at the Marvel Dice Masters stuff, which was Secret Wars, the House of X, and the Fantastic Four versus Galactus. Today we're going to take a look at the DC Dice Masters set that was on the list for next year, which I'm pretty sure full title is Superman Kryptonite Crisis, although we all generally call it just Kryptonite Crisis for short. Or not so short, I suppose. Shorter for shorter. So that's what we're doing here today. If this is the first of these preview videos that you've watched, I'll just put everything into context for you. So in September, Alliance Distribution, which is the North American tabletop game distributor, they had a virtual open house. One of their keynote speakers during that open house was Wizkids, and in their presentation they had a section on Dice Masters where these 4 new sets were revealed for the first time. We have the PowerPoint slide, we have the Solicits information that came off the back of this announcement, and we also have the mock-up of the Countertop Display to take a look at. So we're going to have a look through all that information and just kind of see what little nuggets there are that can give us a bit of a feel for what the set's all about and what it's, what we can expect from it. And then we're going to use some of that information to move into some comic book lore. Let's take a look at this set through the lens of the source material, and I'm going to talk a bit about what I think might be the focus of it, looking at some of these clues in the solicits and from the artwork and such like, so that we've got a kind of better understanding of where the source material is driving the set. And then for the third and final section at the back end, we're going to get into a good old classic character speculation game, the discerning Dice Masters fans' favourite guessing game, where we'll have a little stab at what we think might be some of the key characters that we will see in that set, above and beyond what we know is going to be in the set, because some of the artwork already reveals some of the cards that we're going to be seeing. With all that said and done, that will be the preview concluded. One other thing before I get into the meat of it: if you're a long-standing watcher, then you'll know that I've been talking about this video for a while and said that I may have something a bit spicy, but there was no guarantees. Well, I don't have that extra element available today. I'm just going to be perfectly honest, because of the delay of the Dark Phoenix Saga set, I'm unable to move ahead with some of the stuff I had available to show you guys today. So stay tuned and keep your eyes on the Ministry of Dice Facebook page for any further news on that, but we won't be doing any further Kryptonite Crisis coverage until the Dark Phoenix Saga is actually got a street date and out, and I'm sure you can read between the lines what's going on there. So yeah, with all that said and done, let's now take a leap into the Solicits information and see what we can find out in there. Okay then, well, let's take a look at some of the information that we have so far, and we'll start with the PowerPoint slide that Wizkids used during their keynote presentation. Here it is on screen now. To one of these sides of me. I can't remember where I placed the camera. But we can see here that it's a draft pack release. They've got releasing in April 2021, but I think we'll all believe that when we actually see it. We've got a preview card here, the Daily Planet, which is a 4-cost basic action. Interesting game text: draw 2 dice, prep up to 2 of them, roll the remainder, which I think is interesting bit of basic action ramp there, which is nice in a draft set. The recommended retail price that's listed here is the standard, countertop display and draft pack prices that we've seen in the other draft pack sets. If we take a closer look at the image of the countertop display, we can see there's a bit more information here that we can take take off it. I'm not the first to have speculated about this, by the way. Some of the information I'm talking about today has been clocked already. I'll put a link to it in the description down below. But a little while ago, DM North took a quite a close look at this picture. Our friends Jordo and Laurier over there had a bit of a chat about it. One thing that they drew our attention to was the fact that it says 15 cards and 24 dice per draft pack. Collect all 154 cards. So they were speculating a little bit there about the card numbers. I think it's over the odds. It's maybe 2 or 3 more cards than we normally get in a draft pack set, which is something that's interesting. But as we can see there a little bit of something. The artwork may be a clue. That's from Superman number 19, which was only last year. So quite a contemporary piece of image. It's from the cover, which is not unusual actually for the DC Dice Masters sets to use cover art on the card images. But Superman 19, written by Brian Michael Bendis, and is actually the second issue of a 2-issue story arc, which is really notable and quite significant, and has the potential to sort of change the future of the Superman character forevermore, providing they don't retcon it or something. But I'll talk about that a little bit more in a moment. So there's a little zoom in on the box. We can also see that there's a couple more cards printed on the side there. It looks like there's a Flash, a Joker, a Mary Marvel, and a Supergirl that's included there, and that they may be giving us some further clues as to what some of the kind of central themes or central characters are going to be in this set. If we take a look at the Solicits information itself, it's pretty barren in here, actually. It's got the standard draft pack blurb there, which I'll show you now. Each countertop display contains 8 draft packs. Draft packs contain cards and dice that can be added to your collection as normal, but are also optimized for draft. Whether you're drafting a team of heroes that normally appear together in comics, or you're focusing on your favorite type of energy, there will be tons of ways to draft this set. With more than 35 heroes and villains, this set is perfect for veteran players or beginners. Then the next little bit, which is the bit that's a teeny bit disappointing to me, actually. Brand new teams will make their Dice Masters debut. Players will get to collect Superman, his allies and enemies in all new ways. Even if they're already in your Dice Masters collection, these heroes will play like you've never seen them before. With over 150 different cards and their dice to collect, this set will help you bring some Action Comics excitement to the tabletop. So pretty standard, marketing blurb there. Just a bit disappointing comparatively to the Marvel Dice Masters sets that we've looked at, because that little bit of spiel on the other announced sets has a bit more in the way of clues around story arcs or storyline events that they're going to be focusing on, or characters that we might be seeing. Whereas this one just says Superman, his allies and enemies, which leaves it super broad, for a character of that nature. Although I think perhaps the artwork being from the Brian Michael Bendis run on Superman, which is just about to come to an end, or has just finished, I think, could be a clue in itself, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. So what do we know? We know it's estimated for an April release. It's going to be another draft pack set. It's got the recommended retail price of all the other draft pack sets, and it looks like it's got a few more cards than we used to getting. And with all that said and done, let's move on now to start talking a little bit about the comic book lore and speculating around what the set's theme might be about. Right, okay then, let's take a look at this through the lens of the source material and talk about Superman comic books a little bit. I'll leave this bit in. I've just caught a glimpse of myself. I've got a little camera monitor thing so that I can see myself, to do my hair, tidy my beard up and everything. And we're having a particularly wet and dreary Sunday morning here in Manchester right now as I'm filming this. And so I've put the lamp on over here to illuminate the room a little bit, and I feel like I've made my face look a bit weird and ghostly white. So this video is brought to you by Chris from the Ministry of Dice, aka Ghostly Mr. Six. Anyway, I'm in the weeds. I can't be bothered editing, so I'm just going to leave it in. So what was I talking about? The comic book lore. So the title, Kryptonite Crisis, to my knowledge, isn't indicating one particular Superman storyline event or story arc. If there is one called Kryptonite Crisis, I've not read it, and I would love if someone out there does know that story arc, then please do put it in the comments below. But I had a quick look, obviously, I went through the archives, as it were, to see if there was anything related there. But the word crisis is significant. It's definitely one that has implications for a DC Comics fan. It's used by the publisher a great deal to indicate a grand event, the least of which was the Crisis on Infinite Earths in the mid-80s, which sort of reset the DC multiverse. But we've had like Identity Crisis, Final Crisis, 0 Hour Time Crisis. I think that's what its title was. There's been one in the last year or two, perhaps longer back, because time means nothing right now. About the house, the little kind of psychiatric retreat hologram house thing. Oh, the name of it's fallen out of my head. But the word crisis is definitely significant and has relevance to a DC comic book fan. I think the use of the word kryptonite is actually more in relation to the character Superman and the kind of last son of Krypton aspect to his character. Certainly the artwork may be hinting at that, because the artwork there, as I mentioned before, is from the current volume of Superman number 19. It's one of 2 titles, Superman titles, is being written by Brian Michael Bendis at the moment, although his stewardship of the character's about to come to an end, or has just come to an end. And he's certainly, in the Superman title specifically, less so Action Comics, but certainly in the Superman title, has focused a great deal on the kind of last son of Krypton character tropes that surround Superman, and has looked at the more kind of cosmic, community element of the DC universe, and how Superman as the last son of Krypton ties into that. There's been elements of story involving Kandor, which some of you may know is a miniaturized Krypton colony that Superman looks after in the Fortress of Solitude, a city from Krypton that has survived and has been miniaturized, and it's got little Kryptonians living in it, and that he keeps in a glass jar in his big ice fortress. I'm not kidding, for real. The current Supergirl, the current iteration of Supergirl, is his cousin, and obviously she's Kryptonian, and we know she's in the set because we can see some card art on the side of the box for her. And there's some stuff like his relationship to his father, Jor-El, and some events that have happened around that. There's also, spoiler alert. In fact, there's going to be a few spoilers, so big spoiler alert now before I get into some meatier stuff around this. But there's a character called Rogol Zar, who we discover is a Kryptonian terrorist, and he was in fact responsible for the destruction of the planet Krypton, that it wasn't the result of a natural disaster, but was in fact him taking revenge based on a kind of philosophy that he has around Krypton and his desire to destroy all Kryptonians. So a lot of stuff there, some Phantom Zone stuff going on, so all very pinned down and tied to the Kryptonian element of the Superman character, the last son of Krypton stuff. So I think the title Kryptonite Crisis may be in relation to that. To focus on that, the specific issue of the artwork that they're using, so Superman issue 19 is significant. It's the second part of a 2-issue story arc where Superman decides to reveal to the world that he and Clark Kent are in fact one and the same person, and that's his secret identity, which is an enormous event, real significant event, and has the potential to impact the character for many, many years to come, providing they don't retcon it, of course. So we've got that element, and off the back of that, there's a lot of storyline that surrounds what it means to be this alien living on Earth, this last son of Krypton, but also a human with a job and a wife and a family and friends and colleagues at the Daily Planet. And we know from the basic action that there may well be some focus on that space there, in his relationships that he has in his Clark Kent persona. So I think we may see some stuff around that. Certainly the presence of the Daily Planet Basic Action may be indicating some stuff in that space there. But, he's Clark Kent, he's a journalist, he works at the Daily Planet, and so he's got, relationships with Perry White, Jimmy Olsen, and other colleagues, and there's a lot of storyline content around that stuff, and the Action Comics stuff is in relation to that too. There's this mysterious criminal organisation called the Invisible Mafia, and they in fact buy the Daily Planet and start using it to manipulate the media and stuff. So we could see some content and some cards in relation to that. And off the back of that, what I'll probably say is the other kind of significant thing going on, the other notable thing that's going on, certainly in the Brian Michael Bendis run of the Superman character right now, is the fact that there's been a big focus on his son. That's right, folks. If you weren't aware, Superman and Lois Lane have had a son. His name is Jonathan Kent, named after Superman's human adoptive father. And he has, all sorts of wacky adventures, but he's more recently gone into space and come back from space and gone from a child to a young teenager because of spacey wacy, time warpy, cosmic-y stuff that has gone on. So he's certainly very heavily connected to the last son of Krypton, Kryptonian space cosmic exploration stuff, but there's also storylines around him being a family man. So there may be some cards and some elements of the set that focuses around that, perhaps. Who knows? And then just, obviously Superman, the background image I'm using on this video, in fact, he's a part of the Justice League and has lots of friends and relationships with other superheroes in the DC universe. We can see Batman on the box there. We can see there's a Flash card and a Mary Marvel card, which are characters that Superman's had a lot to do with in the past. Certainly the presence of a Flash card on the box could be or is definitely indicating, we can see it, that is the Justice League affiliation is going to be present in the set there as well. The artwork on the Flash card, actually, just again to draw some comic book lore clues from that, seems to feel a little bit like it might be sort of Rebirth Barry Allen Flash. The yellow lightning stuff is very indicative of the character from the Rebirth point in the storyline. So to not go into it in too much detail, in the DC chronology, you have the Flashpoint, where Flash's use of the Speed Force to travel through time and messing around with time creates a time shift that alters the course of the future. And then we have the New 52, which were kind of new retconned versions of these characters, although not always, because Batman didn't retcon. It was complicated. And then there was an event at the back end where, again, the Flash sort of reset the clock and put wrong the rights that he did during the Flashpoint. And there's the DC Rebirth, which took us all the way back to the way the DC Universe was before the New 52 started. And so there's kind of a rebirthy vibe to the artwork there. I could be wrong, but the kind of yellow lines on his uniform, the lightning bolt lines on his uniform, and the kind of the crackling lightning bolt energy around him is kind of reminiscent of that. And that also makes me wonder if we'll see a Wonder Woman from like a Rebirth era Wonder Woman, a Rebirth era Martian Manhunter, just generally the kind of key headline Justice League characters. And the one thing the Solicits did say is that even though these characters have been seen in sets before, they'll play in new and different ways. So we may see some stuff just drawing upon the Justice League and certainly the Rebirth era of the Justice League, I think. But certainly the Superman storylines that have been going on in recent years, notable storylines, there's certainly been involvement from friends and colleagues on the superhero side of his life, from organisations like the Justice League and the Justice Society. So there you go, there's a little bit of comic book lore. Obviously, I've only just scratched the surface. I don't want to go into too much detail. Let's now move on to specifically pin down some characters that I think we might see in the set, or certainly have on my wish list for the set. Right, well, so there's the wild assumption section of the video. Some of my assumptions around the storyline focus from the comic books that I think the set may thematically centre itself around. Now it's time for the crazy speculation, the character guessing game. So I'm going to talk about some characters that I think may appear in the set, or certainly some characters that are on my wish list to appear in the set. But a few of them I'm confident about. So I mentioned before around the kind of Krypton focus of what's going on and of the Superman character, the last son of Krypton stuff. We know there's a Supergirl in the set. We know the Super Friends affiliation is going to get a boost to its ranks in the set from that card image that we've seen on the side of the box. So maybe we will see a Rogol Zar as a villain character in the set, and as the individual responsible for the destruction of Krypton, with Jor-El, the Jor-El stuff going on with him, being alive and having survived the destruction of Krypton. Maybe we'll see a Jor-El, the father of Kal-El, otherwise known as Superman there. And also, Jonathan Kent, his son, Superboy, he was very heavily involved in the kind of Krypton-related storylines, the Krypton-focused storylines there. So I'd be very surprised if we didn't see a Jonathan Kent Superboy. And in fact, there's a die on the side of the box that looks like it might be a Superboy character die, a reprint of the Connor Kent version of the card that we had in, I want to say, World's Finest. So we definitely see some of the kind of Super Friends, Superman-related characters there. We also know the Justice League is going to be making an appearance. The Flash card on the side of the box I mentioned earlier, he has the Justice League affiliation attached to him, and I think that's the Rebirth version of the character. So I'd be very surprised if there wasn't a Batman, if there wasn't a Wonder Woman, an Aquaman, one of the Green Lanterns, maybe Hal Jordan or Jon Stewart, or perhaps, what's her name, Jessica Cruz, one of the more recent ones, or what's his name, Sebastian Baz. So one of those guys, Booster Gold. The Atom had a part to play in one of the Superman storylines in the current volume. Adam Strange involved, and actually, now that I think about it, one thing I didn't mention in the storyline section. So one of the kind of key significant things that have been going on, if Jonathan Kent's in there, then I'd be very surprised not to see a Lois Lane in there as the wife of Clark Kent, as the mother of Jonathan Kent. But also they've been leaning very heavily into her role as an investigative journalist at the Daily Planet, really leaning into it and kind of making her a very independent character. I mean, she's always been an independent character in that way, but really leaning into it. And she's been investigating was investigating a kind of criminal spy network called Leviathan, named after its leader, Leviathan, which has been systematically eliminating other kind of spy organizations in the DC universe like Argus and Checkmate and Spiral and the DEO. And so we may see some characters, not only a Lois Lane, which has already got versions of Lois Lane in the game, but I think we'll see one, but also perhaps some of the characters that are related to her investigation, some of whom are Justice League members. So the Green Arrow is part of her investigation team. The Question, twice over, in fact, two versions of the Question involved in her investigations. John Constantine, Zatanna, they've all turned up as part of these storylines. Steve Trevor in the mix there. Amanda Waller, not Justice League characters, but may well appear as kind of offshoots and connecting characters to this kind of event Leviathan stuff that Lois Lane's been investigating. So yeah, that would be interesting to see. Oh, and Manhunter, she's an important character to that storyline as well. Who's a kind of kick-ass mercenary with a super staff thing. So we may well see some of those guys crop up. And as I said before, my suspicion is they like to use covers a lot for the card art, and I think they'll be drawing heavily on some of the really cool kind of Rebirth era covers. Which, if my editing skills are up to scratch, you'll see some examples of flashing up on the screen right now. So yeah, you've got the kind of Krypton stuff. You've got the Super Friends characters there, and the likelihood is that we'll see some Justice League characters there. Damian Wayne, I think we'll see a version of his Robin for sure, and certainly the Joker on the side of the box is telling us that there'll be a Batman and probably a Robin. But Damian Wayne's really important to the character of Jonathan Kent. He and Superboy have a really strong relationship, like brothers in arms. Both have a very unique experience as children and sidekicks to their kind of A-list superhero parents. And they've even had a title focused on them called the Super Sons. So I'd be very surprised if there's not a Robin and it isn't the Damian Wayne version of Robin that features in the set there as well. What else is on my little guessing list? I wrote a few down, a few to guess around. Jimmy Olsen, Perry White, the Daily Planet side of his life, as I mentioned before. I think we're long overdue a Perry White for sure. There's some Justice League characters that I think we should have that have been overlooked that we haven't had. I'd really, really, really love to see a Ted Kord version of the Blue Beetle. I think that is a character. We've had a Jamie Reyes version of the Blue Beetle, but not a Ted Kord version of the Blue Beetle. I'd really love to see that. Like I say, the new Green Lanterns, or the more recent Green Lanterns, is a possibility. We've never had a Metamorpho, who's always been a kind of key character for many, many people. I think there'd likely be a Harley Quinn in the mix as well, just because. In fact, I read an article not too long back that was arguing that it's no longer the DC Trilogy, it's now the DC Quadrilogy. Anyway, Harley Quinn has actually surpassed Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman as the kind of tentpole character of the DC universe now. And they're probably not wrong in terms of what I was reading in the article there. And we know from the Mary Marvel card on the side of the box as well that the Marvel family are going to feature. Or certainly we know a Mary Marvel at the bare minimum, but maybe we'll see a Captain Marvel. We might see some of the Batman Incorporated stuff. He's got quite a big unit of folks around him now. It's a Superman-focused set, but beyond the bare minimum of a Batman and a Robin, which I suspect we'll very much see in the set, we may well see others from his wider Batman Incorporated, like Cassandra Cain. Kate Kane's Batwoman may make a return to the game of Dice Masters. Spoiler, maybe another version of Barbara Gordon's Oracle. So let's see what pans out there. But they're certainly on my wish list. I love some of those battle characters. I think Cassandra Cain really needs a character in Dice Masters because she's freaking awesome. What else? What else is on my little guest list that I jotted down when I made myself some notes? From the cosmic side, there's a character called Lobo that may well make an appearance. I hope he makes an appearance. He's a well-known character to DC fans, very irreverent, very kind of juvenile humour title that many people love as a little comedic escape. And he's this kind of badass space biker alien guy who has often fought Superman or teamed up with Superman for a variety of reasons. He's actually the last surviving member of his race, the Caesarians, and so believes he and Superman have something of a kindred spirit, although they became the last sons of their planets for different reasons, and you can go away and investigate that one for yourselves for sure. So I'd like to see a Lobo. Also, there is a possibility, I suppose, of the Legion of Superheroes from the 31st century making an appearance. So this is a huge group of super teenagers from the 31st century who were inspired to become superheroes, used their abilities for good by tales they were told, historical tales they were told of the life and times of Superman. And he has travelled into the future and met them on a few occasions. And Jonathan Kent is currently living in the 31st century as a member of that super team too. And there's some key characters there, the least of which would be, I think, Saturn Girl, perhaps. So maybe we'll see some Legion of Superhero characters from the future, although I don't think they'd introduce that as a new affiliation at this stage. I don't know. And the Krypton story, one of the key elements of the Krypton story is these kind of rulers of these galactic empires, one of which is a Guardian, who are the kind of central characters in the Green Lantern organization. So maybe we'll see some Guardians this time around. But without a specific kind of storyline to pin it down on, it may be hard to know. I'd love to see a Mr. Terrific, a better Ant-Man. Have we had not an Ant-Man, Animal Man? Have we even had an Animal Man? We've not even had an Animal Man. I'd love to see an Animal Man. A big thing. I used to be a fan of the Grant Morrison run on Animal Man. So there's quite a few kind of Justice League characters that they did a card for back in the Justice League set, but then never revisited. So maybe we'll see some stuff there. And of course, let's not forget the villains, General Zod. Rogol Zar I mentioned before, but I'd be very surprised if we didn't see a Lex Luthor. Toyman has appeared a few times through the Brian Michael Bendis run as well, so we may see a Toyman, which would be really cool to see. But some of the classic Superman villains like Parasite may make an appearance, and they may revisit some other Rogues galleries to fill out the ranks of the Rogues. In the Kryptonite Crisis set, Gorilla Grodd, etc., popular kind of key villains there. Like I say, we know there's a Joker in the set, so there's a possibility of seeing other villains. Certainly, we might see a Leviathan as one of the key antagonists in Action Comics at that time, and also Mongol, who's this kind of intergalactic warlord that Superman has faced off with many times. He has been had quite a reasonably long story arc in the current volume of Superman as well, so we may see him. Oh, and I tell you who else, this Red Cloud, I don't think the character is I don't think she's officially named the Red Cloud, but there's an assassin for the Invisible Mafia called the Red Cloud, so we might see a Red Cloud character as well, which would be interesting for sure. Okay, well, in the interest of time, that's my wish list, or speculation as to characters we'll see. I've just kind of gone really scattershot on this one because we can't pin it down too specifically, and there's so many characters involved in the kind of Superman lore that it is hard to accurately guess, but I'm pretty confident that we'll see some of those that I've just named there. But I'd be interested to know what your speculation is too, so please do let me know in the comments down below what characters you'd like to see, or you're putting good money down on, that will appear in the Kryptonite Crisis set. Okay, let's move on to the little outro then, shall we? Okay, so there we are. We're at the end of not just this video, but of the 2021 Dice Masters new release preview and speculation series. I hope you've enjoyed joining me through these little kind of flights of fancy and playing the guessing game around the characters. I'll reiterate, if there's on this particular video, if there's anything anything on your wish list from the DC universe you'd like to see in the set, or if there's a Superman storyline that you hope they kind of thematically bring some elements of into the set, then let me know in the comments below, or drop me a line. Maybe you're a Marvel fan and couldn't care less. Let me know about that. Maybe you're a DC fan and super excited. Maybe you're a D&D fan and just like, where's some news about D&D? Or maybe you just sat in wait like I am to see what other random intellectual property they end up announcing this year. Because there's bound to be something. So yeah, there we go. Thanks for hanging out and watching my little video series. I'll remind you, definitely subscribe. We've got some spicy stuff about Kryptonite Crisis specifically, and the minute we get the green light, we'll go full steam ahead on that stuff there. So you don't want to miss out on any videos that we put out in relation to that subject, especially if you are excited about DC Dice Masters. But in the meantime, I've been Chris, otherwise known as True Mr. 6, and I'll catch you over at BritRoller6.com on a video or on the Ministry of Dice podcast sometime soon. Thanks for watching, folks.